Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I've got an interesting person to introduce you to tonight, Beth Sturdevant, who is got a podcast. She had a retail store that looked quite fascinating, and she helps females find their inner warrior. And so we're going to have an interesting conversation with Beth tonight, just chatting about a bunch of different issues. Welcome to my show, Beth. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us a little about this podcast that you've launched. What are you trying to convey via the podcast?
So the podcast actually is launching at the end of this month. We've recorded a couple episodes, so they're just being edited. It's called the Spirit Warrior Podcast, and basically it's an opportunity for people to share their stories about pushing through adversity, growing through trauma. It's not so much about, excuse me, what they went through, but how they got through it and how they became better people as a result, and in turn helped those around them.
What do you mean by their inner spirit?
Their inner warrior spirit,
Yes.
That aspect of them that's going to continue to fight, whether it's for the best aspects of themselves. So often, when somebody's going through massive changes or something really hard in their life, we have to be our own heroes. We have to be our own warriors. And so we have to look within ourselves to find the resources that we need to get through whatever it is we get through. And often when we're processing trauma or healing from trauma, it takes that warrior spirit to get us there, right? To get us to the other side of whatever it is that we're facing.
Do you think we all have warrior spirits, or is the creation of a warrior spirit something you help people create?
100% we all have it. It's just we lose it, right? We live in a world where everything's, a lot more softer and easier, and we don't have to necessarily use it all the time right now, right? We're not in, survival mode where we're having to go out and chop wood and kill our food every day and things like that. So yeah, we all have it there. It's just, do we know that it's there? Have we accessed it? Have we forgotten it? Have we lost it? Some people, lose it along the way because of their experiences, right?
So how do you get people to re-find their warrior spirit?
It depends on in which way they need it. Some people need it by, whether it's, oftentimes with a lot of the women that I worked with at Warriors of the Light, and even some of my clients, it's working with, and it's going to sound funny, but axe throwing, knife throwing, teaching them how to fight with a sword and shield. I know it sounds really silly, but as soon as you put that sword in somebody's hand, it instantaneously taps into the subconscious mind, right? This, generations of warriors that we came from, and this ability that we have. So that's one way, in the physical, tangible way. But another way is by helping people process their traumas, face things about themselves perhaps that they never wanted to face, learn to meditate, learn to kind of turn their eyes inward, and I say combat the dragons that are inside that we often avoid.
You said something about Warriors of the Light. What was that?
Warriors of the Light was our physical location that, as you mentioned, the retail space closed. I guess we technically closed in August, but with everybody we had to close in March. But we officially closed permanently, or say temporarily, this past August. So it was a space where we could do that, where we could train people to bring out that inner warrior, reconnect with it, heal it if need be, in a safe community where they felt held, right? Felt seen, felt valued. So we worked with veterans. We worked with women, teens, men, women, different programs, some of them just fun, again, just to kind of get that sense of, we're going to learn how to spar with a, Viking sword and shield. We're going to throw axes and knives, just to create that community and that sense of fun. But there is an undeniable healing component to those activities, especially when it's in an environment that also is conducive to the healing arts, conducive to meditation, yoga, and all those things that support us in a balanced way.
So is this for females or not necessarily just for females, for other people as well?
For everyone. Yep. We had men's programs, we had men's support groups,
and you say the healing arts. What are the healing arts?
Healing arts. I myself am trained in shamanism, spiritual healing, Reiki. So I would combine those aspects in my teachings in my lessons as well. I had other practitioners that came and rented the space as well, reflexologists.
But yet you also said that you're into the warrior arts.
The warrior arts, yes, that's embracing that warrior, the physical aspects of what it means to be a warrior, right?
Okay, tell me what the warrior arts are. They're sword fighting and axe throwing?
Yeah, we had Irish stick fighting, we had axe and knife throwing, Viking sword and shield fighting.
How did you get into this? This is fantastic. How did you get into the axe throwing and Irish stick fighting and stuff?
The universe works in magnificent ways, because I'm actually a acclaimed classical cellist. That's my, I know.
You're a classical cellist, and then you got into the warrior arts.
I know, it's crazy. So I was a classical cellist all my life, and then life circumstances drew me away from New York City, where I was, brought me back to Canada. And it was kind of that process of finding myself again, re-identifying myself, single mom, going through some traumas, and just finding out who I was and discovering that, and then kind of going through a pretty significant event that made me realize I didn't know who I was, and made me realize that I really had a lot of work that I needed to do, kind of a healing journey that I needed to do with myself. And that's when I really had to embrace that inner warrior, and decide, who was I? Like, who did I identify more with, as the victim of things happening to me, or as the warrior of, okay, I'm going to take control and I'm going to be XYZ, So that shift kind of brought me here.
Obviously, there was some trauma that occurred that really affected you. Can you share that with us at all? Are you comfortable sharing that with us at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem sharing my traumas. I mean, the trauma of being abandoned when I was pregnant, and I had my son at the time was 12 months old. And so my fiance at the time in New York left me, and, that was pretty traumatic, but, everything happens for a reason. And when you can kind of look at the situation as, what is the lesson? What are the takeaways? And kind of honor the people that hurt us as our teachers, which is a really hard thing to do. But when we can kind of start to look at them as our greatest educators, then we can reclaim our power and really learn and grow from them. So that was an experience that brought me here, but it was not my most traumatic experience. The one that truly, I'm going to say, was like the crucifixion and the resurrection of me was a significant breakup with somebody that, I really, really, truly loved on a soul level. And that in particular, why that was such a catalyst, because it made me realize, like I said, I was so disconnected from who I was. I, wanted to be this, or I claimed to be this really strong, empowered woman. I was reading empowerment books. I was, going to therapy and really trying to take care of myself. But yet, deep down, I was very insecure. Right? Deep down, I was very broken because of my experiences of the past that I hadn't healed properly. And so the demise of that relationship really, truly made me embark on this hero's journey to get to where I am today. But I'd say the most significant traumatic experience that made me, we'll say, solidify what I'm doing and who I am, and my path as a warrior was, I guess it's coming up on 4 years. 4 years ago in 2 weeks, a man broke into my house here and held me at gunpoint, and my children were asleep in their beds, and he abducted me and robbed me of all my money, made me drive to the bank and robbed me. But what was interesting, and I'm safe, and it all worked out in the end. But what was really fascinating and interesting for me was in the moment that it was happening, I was really able to ground myself, right? I was really able to kind of just be present and not hysterical. I knew at the moment I needed to get him out of my house, right? I trusted my instincts. And then right before he actually let me go and he left the car, you know, he asked me for more money and whatever was left in my wallet. And I genuinely wanted to give him stuff because I felt compassion in that second of, you know, extreme fear and trauma. I felt compassion for him, not for what he was doing, but for the amount of pain and suffering and what his life must be like for him to be in that position to rob a single mom at Christmas, right? Like, so I'm pretty convinced that that level of compassion is what saved me. And that grace to see beyond.
Oh my God, what a story. And you know, the 99.9% of the people in this world wouldn't have had any compassion for the perpetrator of such a heinous thing at any time, let alone at Christmas to a single mom.
Of course, and rightfully so. And I'm not justifying what he did in any sense, and it wasn't a conscious thing. It's because of my path of what I've been through, the work that I've done as a healer, and kind of finding more inner peace within myself as a warrior. I was able to kind of look at it from a different lens. And because of that, I was able to heal and process from the trauma much faster, right? I didn't live in the pain of it. You know, I still had to go through shock and different stages of it, but I was able to process and heal from it much faster than I would have otherwise. So.
We're chatting tonight with Beth Sturdevant about the warrior inside of you, the spirit warrior inside of everybody, and how you've got to find it and how it can get you through life's traumas. And also Beth has been sharing with us 3 different traumas that occurred in her life and how she got through it and how she actually found compassion. What a compelling story. We're going to take a break and come back with some concluding comments in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. Fascinating conversation tonight with Beth Sturdevant. We've gone places I didn't expect we'd go, because Beth has shared with us some traumas that occurred in her life, being abandoned as a single mom in New York, a breakup with someone who she thought was her, I guess your soulmate, the way you described it, Beth. And then 4 years ago at Christmas, single mom, being abducted and robbed. And yet at the same time, she found compassion for this person. My God. And, you know, Beth, you said that you need to be able to turn your eyes inward, and you needed to find out who you were. How did you turn your eyes inward, and how did you find out who you were? Was that through meditation, or was that through your finding your inner warrior spirit, or what was the process?
First, it started with planting the seed of who I wanted to identify as, right? Because that's hugely important. And so as soon as I decided who I did not want to be anymore, that kind of set the dial of my compass in the direction where I wanted to go. And so once I had that, then it was just a matter of finding whatever support systems, whatever resources I needed to support that, to help me get there. And for me, it was through spiritual healing and shamanism. So I'm trained, like I said, in shamanism and spiritual healing through the 8th Fire School of Shamanism.
What is shamanism?
Shamanism is, oh gosh, it's $1 million question. It's a form of healing that's been around for centuries. It originated in Siberia, but you can find it in every single culture. It's essentially being able to go into trance and connect with the natural energies around us, and use that, whether it's for intuition, insight, or healing capacities or capabilities. So I did training. I'm still in training, kind of in the master's program right now for another 2 years. So I trained for about 5 years already. I'm in another 2 years, and then I'll do another one after this, the next level. But yeah, so for me, it was shamanism. That was my ability, because it really gets into your non-conscious mind and really taps into the parts of us, 90 to 95% of our brain that we don't even realize is controlling us.
And how did you get into this warrior arts? Was this something that you've always done, or something you got into through this shamanism and this process of finding yourself?
It was through meditation. I actually saw what I'm building, and that's why I'm not so upset about Warriors of the Light closing because of COVID, because I see where it's going. I know it's going to go. So
where is it going? It's going through this podcast?
Too much. No, the podcast is just another kind of bridge, another branch of it. But we definitely are going to have another physical location, bigger, that will include more facets, we'll say, to help really solidify, reconnect, heal people's inner warriors in whatever capacity they need. So how I got into it, yeah, I saw it that way, but it just made me realize, because I was always an adventurous person, and then I was also quasi-spiritual, but I needed to merge the two, right? I needed to feel empowered, both mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And so combining the two, I started with workshops, and then met with a Japanese martial artist, and we just started to build and started to grow. So.
Fantastic. If people want to get your podcasts once they're up in the new year, how do they do that?
They can go to my personal website, BethSturdevant.com. There is a section there for the podcasts.
And if people want to find out more about the inner warrior, is there a way to do that?
Well, excuse me, Warriors of the Light is temporarily closed. We do have a website, but it's old. But again, you can go visit me on Facebook, Instagram, Beth Sturdevant Spirit Warrior, or through my website as well.
I love your idea that we've all got a spirit warrior in us, and we just have to refine that. And that you had this image of you being a warrior, and you went out and learned some of these warrior arts, and that they helped you. I used to do a lot of canoe out tripping and outward bound kind of stuff, and I miss it because maybe it didn't make me feel like a warrior, but it made me feel like a woodsman, an outdoorsy kind of guy, and hiking still makes me feel that way. And I think there's something about reaching back, whether it's to a prior life or just to things we've read about in history books, but to try to recapture that warrior.
Absolutely. That's, and hiking, canoeing, it's getting back to your roots, right? Remembering your capacities to survive and thrive. I mean, look at COVID, right? Like, how many people started baking bread, because it's all of a sudden we're like, oh God, maybe I can't depend on the internet and, hydro and, all this stuff. So it's just getting back to your roots and reclaiming that for yourself.
Beth Sturdevant, thank you so much for sharing with us your traumas, how you got through it, and Warriors of the Light, Spirit Warriors. Wonderful conversation. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, that's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Brian Crombie Radio Hour on every night at 6 o'clock on 960 AM, or you can stream me online at saga960am.ca, or you can get all my podcasts and videocasts on my website the next morning at briancrombie.com. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us. Good night. Beth, Spirit Warrior, thanks so much. You gave me some real incentive. Thanks.